Hey, this is Notser, and today we're taking a look at Amalfi. This is the Tier 8 Italian cruiser. You can expect to hopefully earn this when you're going down the main Italian cruiser line sometime in 810, 811 or so. Yeah, I think 810, the main line will be out up until Tier 8. I don't know if they're doing the Tier 9 or Tier 10. This would be the highest tier that you could possibly earn from one of those containers in the 8-9 Italian event. I wanted to try these out because I had forgotten that the SAP round has received a slight gradual nerf over the tiers. As you get up to Tier 9 and Tier 10, there's almost no change. Honestly, I think Tier 10, there's literally no change. And I think Tier 9, it's like a 5-degree adjustment. But at Tier 8, 7, 6, and 5, you will notice a much grander adjustment to the way SAP normalizes on a target. Meaning, mid-tier and sort of closer to the higher tier, if you are going thin, bow or stern away, you will minimize the number of shells that actually penetrate. Most of them will probably ricochet, and there's a great example of it in this game in particular on the same exact target. So I think it's a perfect game to highlight that. Obviously, it's still SAP, it still does high damage, it's still really good against EDs, and spoiler alert, I really want to kill this Udaloy. And he's perfectly broadside. Why? Why is he perfectly broadside to me? We will never figure that out, because we're going to be shooting him as soon as he is spotted, and he must be running some crazy, horrible concealment build for the Udaloy, and hopefully we can punish it. But we do catch him on his broadside. 4 pins for 6,500 damage, not bad. It's the ideal situation for SAP. There is no better option than firing SAP at those guys in a broadside situation. Having said that, we're going to see that exact same target with a completely different angle, and we're going to see just how it works out. But clearly we were not successful in stopping the capture. I am trying to fire on the Wargaming and be safe about it. I really, really love the active maneuvering potential that the Italians have. I am a rudder shift build. You've probably seen it. I do have concealment, but I have a faster rudder shift versus acceleration or damage control. I don't know why you would ever use that in that slot for cruisers, but it's available. Now, this ship has 9 203mm guns on 3 gun turrets, which is very traditional at this point. You got American cruisers. You've got a lot of ships that have the same exact layout. It's very usable, really fast turret traverse. I think the base turret traverse is something like 25 seconds. So what they've done is they've given us German turret traverse, Japanese rudder shift, and a completely new, unique ammo type that works very well. And on top of that, you have torpedoes, which they're not fast, but they have a very large range, and they have a really fast recharge. So what you can end up doing is very similar to my situation here. I was hoping that the Vladivostok would not be close and aggressive and push forward. He did. I used my active smoke, but I'm able to send torpedoes in a predicted position that the enemy might take up. And, I mean, it's pretty standard for players to try and camp a corner and minimize the number of targets that could engage them, but because that is a standard play, I can preemptively send torpedoes at the corner of islands and punish rather well, I must say, for free. But we've done pretty good on this flank already. We've done, 45,000 damage, and it is against a couple battleships. And the smoke, you need to memorize that bloom range. If you understand your in-smoke bloom, then you can manipulate it so that you're always away from the target, and you won't be detected in smoke. But if you choose, you can always show yourself. So here we go. Vladivostok, he does not like that I was firing, so I'm going to try and actively maneuver, which is awesome. You have such a fast rudder that it almost doesn't matter that you're super thin and easy to kill, because, man, it's really hard for them to nail you down. If you're staying near your max range, they're going to have a tough time, and you have great gun velocity and consistency to stay there at that range. So I really have enjoyed the playstyle that the Italians have. The SAP round is certainly not as good as the first version, but it's still a step up compared to the HE systems that we have on those premium Italian cruisers that are out right now. You don't have to invest 4 points in IFHE just to be able to do reasonable penetration. They almost have non-existent fire. I would prefer to have higher alpha than non-existent fire. That's exactly what the mainline Italians feels like. It's fixed all of the weird quirkiness with the premium Italian cruisers with really no downside, other than the fact that you don't get a typical hydro or defensive AA. You really have to work with what the game gives you, and the game gives you great tools, but they are very situational. There are times when I might go a full game and I never end up using my smoke because the situation never called for it. I never needed to because my team did such a good job of screening in front of me, and oh yeah, huge shots on the target. And I would love to switch to AP and C, but Friendly Montana did all of the work for me, and we did not have anything else there. Now, we're coming up on the game shot that I was discussing, where I engage an Udaloy, and I'm engaging this Udaloy at basically a very thin, like a blade, bow position. And you'll notice that the shells are going to be less successful. Now, well, obviously, while we're moving in that position, we've got this Georgia, we've got this Vladivostok, and here we go. Here's a target that is going to end up being actively maneuvered. He basically turns away from me, and 3 of the shells ricochet. 3 of which pin, but 3 of the shells ricochet. And prior to this version, they would not. So I think that Wargaming, in an effort to protect the mid-tiers from just spamming a high alpha, easy pin shell, I mean the lower pin, it has the exact same penetration at tier 5 as it does at tier 10, which is a huge number compared to the targets. So sort of a compensation for that, they introduced this worse normalized angle pin, and I think that it's a success so far. I feel like overall the Italians are more fair in their damage output, especially the ones where it has been really noticeable, you know, like closer to tier 5. But it's still really useful. You're still really powerful in certain situations. There's just a little bit more counterplay available to something like a DD or even a cruiser or a battleship with the reduced normalization angles. And I appreciate that. I always feel like, you know what? The greatness of this game is in creating ships that counter each other in such a strong way that you would want to minimize their impact by obviously realizing, okay, there's an Italian cruiser in the range. I need to be very careful as a DD. If an Italian cruiser fires on me, I'm probably going to lose a significant amount of health. And we just took away 5,000 health from the Jutland. But as the Italian cruisers are fully released and players get familiar with that playstyle, they will realize that going bow in or stern in, it's going to reduce the number of shells that actually successfully pin. So I could see a developed strategy very similar to the Daring and the Jutland, where, you know, when we were testing it, there were people who were encouraging no IFHE whatsoever, but I knew players would realize, oh, you're firing AP. Well, doesn't it suck for you if I angle and you can't do anything? So I expect that it's not going to be quite as hard countered, and there certainly isn't an IFHE skill to improve this effect. I think it's balanced, and I think that the necessary adjustments probably were made, and the Italian cruiser overall, I like it. I like the active maneuvering. I really enjoy the torpedo usage. You basically can use the torpedoes on cooldown to send towards corners and really hold off anything that might camp the corner. The active smoke is really fun. I think all of you guys are going to really enjoy being able to instantly stealth yourself for 25 to 40 seconds, give or take. And I think that's great. I want more additions to the game that create the kind of variety that I crave. I love controlling units, characters, ships, tanks, whatever, that feel slightly different and cause a different strategy that needs to be employed. And oh man, the heartbreak is real on this one. We are 2 seconds away from capturing that, and my momentum just took me out of it just a skosh too much. And it was really frustrating, but we're going to win this game. There's no question. This game is over, and that Musashi, I just wanted to double check. Also, I don't want to undersell this. Any cruiser that has the ability to equip torpedoes to verify the location and the acceleration of a target, it's a godsend. It's just a little bit of a detail that really matters. You know, those American heavy cruisers at high tier, the Des Moines, he can't verify whether a person's moving forward or backwards by simply switching to a torpedo, whereas the Italians, it's a trait of the entire line. So if you can couple that with a couple other things, you can do quite well, and we are trying to manipulate this so bad. We got, I think, almost 9,000, 10,000 on his nose. More than enough penetration, and the angle, he's very broad. I'm just trying to be really cheeky about this, and I'm sure he hates it too, and oh no, I'm going to be detected. I came forward just a little too much, and I don't have smoke, clearly because the cooldown's really long, and oh great, his guns are pointed right at us. Oh, and he's firing! Over pen! Over pen! Okay, well, yeah, only 20,000? Is that your best you got, Musashi? You can't do any of that. And clearly we're going to help finish him off. Works really well to damage sort of sections of a ship that you can penetrate and have good angle. The Italians are really surgical with the accuracy and the consistency of the guns. And honestly, the reload. The reload limits their aggressiveness because you really have to aim very accurately. If you don't aim accurately, you got to wait a long time. And it's going to be a tough line just for that reason alone. You can't just compensate with a little bit faster reload. You know, if you have bad aim, well, it doesn't matter. I have a 2-second reload. I will eventually range in the shot. Not the case with the Italians. So we're going to be trying to chase down this Jutland who's clearly keeping us spotted. And there's a lot of little details here that there's plenty of counterplay with the Italians. You'll note that the aircraft carrier detection range, even with concealment, and the concealment module, and also my camouflage, there's still almost like 2 kilometers where air can keep it spotted, but you can't do anything about it. So it's a very, very interesting dynamic that is going on with the Italians. I'm super excited. I think the line itself is a success. It's got the variety that I'm craving, completely new concept to the game, and I want to explore that more. I want to see if an Italian cruiser becomes a normal pick in a competitive team or rank, or how successful or unsuccessful it might be. It could influence the game positively. And I don't think that there's nothing here that can't be countered. So I really like that. I feel like they're ready. They should be, because they're coming out in about 14 or 15 days, I think, give or take. It's about mid-October when we expect 8-9 to drop. So, yeah, I think it's good to go. We didn't do much in kills or capture, almost captured, but we're still top on the team because of that damage. So, hopefully you guys are as excited as I am to play the Italians. I can't wait. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to check out more of my content, you click the most recent or the most relevant uploads. You could also choose to subscribe to my channel. We do daily World of Warship videos, first impression, how-to, news, and review related. My North American recruit invite is on the screen. You can take advantage of that. I stream at twitch.tv/Notser. Thank you, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.